Hey, it's Mega, aka the Art Messiah, here to save you from your art sins. Today we're going to be starting a very special series. We're going to be figuring out how to draw the human form and how to make dynamic poses. And today is going to be the beginning of this series, and we're going to start to break down the human form into basic shapes. I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but I'm going to break it down real simple, week by week, building on basic building blocks, and we're going to build our way up to drawing very dynamic poses and scenes. So hopefully you stick around for the series. Even this first video, even if you think you're like advanced or further on in your, let's say, art career, these are still very good practices to warm up, to figure out how to draw form believably and confidently. So to start to build the human body, we need to understand just 3 simple forms and shapes. And that is 1, the Saphir, 2, the cube, and 3, the cylinder. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to follow along as we draw all 3 of these. I know they're going to seem basic at first, but this is a good practice to start to understand volume. So for Saphir, let's draw a circle, and let me change my brush size to a little bit smaller. First we need to draw a decent circle. There we go. And it doesn't have to be a perfect circle, just as long as we can tell it's round. And what I want you to do is I want you to picture this is a basketball or a tennis ball. Right now it looks very flat, like it's just a circle. But to turn it into a Saphir, we only need to add just a few lines, right? So imagine you are holding this basketball in your hand, and you decide to take a pen in the other hand and draw a line all the way around this basketball, okay? Just like you're almost cutting it in half, right? So this is what we're going to call our center line. We have our horizontal center line, and then we have our vertical center line, okay? Perfect. So go ahead and draw in those 2 center lines. And what these center lines represent is going to be the contour, which is basically the surface of the form that we are describing. So the reason I am not drawing these center lines straight on is because it will appear to be flat. We need to view this at an angle so that we can just start to understand the form that we are building, okay? So with this shape and this Saphir, I want you to draw more of these lines that curve around the ball. Like imagine this is a basketball and you're drawing these lines that are curving around the basketball surface. And look how the volume is already starting to look more and more like a Saphir instead of just a ball. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in some more lines here to describe the horizontal as well, right? And these lines are going to come up here and just like that. Okay, so look how we are starting to develop form by showing contour lines. So take your piece of paper, take your pencil, draw a circle, draw on a vertical, right? Draw in your horizontal, and then draw in supporting contour lines. Okay. So let's do the same thing with the cube. So for the cube, instead of starting with a circle, This time we're going to start with a square. Okay. So now you're thinking, okay, well, how do we turn this into an actual cube? Okay, so this is what I want to show you. This point, and this point. We are going to extend lines going into the background. I want them all to be parallel, meaning that these lines will never, ever cross each other. And then I want you to draw these last two lines that represent the end of that cube. Okay, so let's go around that and let's really pull out the shape here. Okay, so do you see how it's already taking on form and volume? Now, just like the Saphir, I want you to go in and add supporting contours. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many contours you need to describe this surface. And the same thing on this side as well. Perfect. So once you have that, you can add in even more just kind of support here to really show the flatness of the surface. And boom, there you have a cube. The next shape that we're going to explore and draw is our cylinder. Our cylinder is kind of a combination between the sphere and this cube. So we're going to draw a circle. This time we are going to extend these lines and again make them parallel, just like we did with that cube. Repeat and cut what I just did. The last shape we are going to draw is a cylinder, and for this one I want you guys to start off with an oval, and then the edges of that oval I want you to extend the lines downwards and make another oval at the bottom. Alright, you guys can probably already see this cylinder starting to take shape. We're going to trace the outside edges. Again, we are going to draw the supporting contours. So we draw contours in the vertical direction. That is again following these outer edge lines. Okay, so we're drawing these supporting contours that are showing the straightness of this edge, and then we are drawing rounded lines to show the curvature around the vertical axis. We need to show that the top of the cylinder is flat. So what we can do is draw in straight lines, because straight lines represent that this is a flat surface, and then it's a flat surface in both the X and Y direction. So basically what I did here demonstrates how to start to visualize form and to be able to draw form. So basically, you making these 3 basic shapes is going to make us and develop the skills that we need to develop any kind of complex shape possible. So if you can draw these 3 things, I promise you, you're going to be able to draw the human form, and we are just going to build up to that step by step. So we're going to jump into what I am going to call your weekly training, and I'm going to discuss how that's going to work, give you a demo, and then show you how to start to develop even more complex forms after you've developed your ability to draw this. So draw these 3 basic shapes exactly how I did it, and put that to the side as reference, and we're going to jump into the next section. Alright, so welcome to this next section. Now I want to discuss how we can use what we applied to make basic shapes to start to develop more complex forms with more complex curves. So we're going to use the same ideology, we're going to use the same methods to start to take a complex shape and start to develop a complex form. So the first thing that we did when we were just doing the basic shapes was determine the center line. So I'm going to do that first. So I imagine this is like almost like a VeggieTales kind of shape, and I imagine my center line is following these curves and it's wrapping around and it's doing something like that. I imagine that's my vertical center line, and now let's do the same thing with my horizontal center line. I imagine my horizontal center line is going to fall just about here, and again you can place this wherever you want because we're going to be making supporting contours to describe the form of this shape and start to give volume to this shape. Now remember, if it's a curved surface, you're using a curved line, you're not using a straight line. Okay, so after you develop those 2 center lines, let's go ahead and draw in the supporting contours.
Well, you managed to kill 11 minutes. Thanks, Betty. What? Oh, sweetie, I'm not Betty. I just borrowed a uniform.
Alright, and there we have it. So hopefully you can kind of see that this form is really actually starting to develop and start to look like it has volume and like it is grounded, you know. Hopefully you can start to begin to see that now. Through adding in these contour lines, we can add a lot of volume and we can add a lot of form. So I'm going to show you just a bunch of examples now, and what I want you to do is follow along and take maybe 5 pages and do 5 pages of complex forms, drawing the contours. And what I like to do is I like to draw the edge of the shape really dark, and then I like to draw the contours a little bit lighter, and start to play with form, start to make your contours straight and curvy and extra curved, and see how the form begins to take shape. So we're going to jump into time lapse and we're going to zoom through a bunch, and I'm going to come back for a few final words. Alright, so I hope you guys liked that little demo, and I really just want you to fill up sketchbook pages of this, because you're training your mind to develop form and volume from simple shapes, and this is going to be just so very important when we're starting to create anatomy and we're starting to create the human figure, because the human figure has volume, and if you want to show that volume and represent that volume, you really need to understand this concept of contours to describe that volume, because in the clothing folds, you're going to be using those contours to really bring out the contours that describe the volume and the shape, right? So you training your mind to see these contours is going to help you bring out the correct ones when you're drawing clothing folds, when you're drawing foreshortening, when you're drawing dynamic poses. This is going to be very critical, so just keep coming back to this video as we keep on going through the series. Thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you follow along, and send me your form drawing exercises on Instagram or DeviantART. And again, thank you for watching so much. Look forward to the next video, because in the next video we're going to actually start drawing the human figure. So this is going to be the only fundamental thing that I want you guys to get down. I just want you to practice it a lot. And good luck with coming up with these complex shapes, and just have fun with it, and have fun with the contours. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just I want you guys to just enjoy the process of seeing the form come out and see what happens when you make a curved line, a jagged line, or a straight line, and how that starts to represent your form and your volume. So hopefully you understand a little bit about drawing complex shapes and form. Next week we're going to take this a step further, so keep a lookout for that. And until the next video, peace and love, and catch you next time.